morning, good evening, everyone. This is Luda Kopikina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News, where we rate articles essential, important, and optional. You can find the articles in gaiinsights.com/articles. Please comment along and tell us whether you agree or disagree with our thinking here. Today, I have John, Adam, Paul, and Ankash, our regular crew. And we have 6 articles to talk about. And happy Friday, everyone. All right, let's start with the first article, Ankash.
Sure, thanks, Luda. So the first one that we have for today talks about how Alibaba and Baidu have adopted their own AI chips.
Yes. Adam, if you could please summarize
I'll say a little bit about it. I'll start by saying, though, that I think it's probably optional. Some of it isn't really new news. And I think they're sort of trying to build a story and make people aware of the fact that this decoupling from the dependence on NVIDIA is happening in China. This is specifically, Alibaba and Baidu are the two ones we're talking about here. And Alibaba actually earlier this year started using its own chips, and they're just sort of reporting on that now as part of this story of the Chinese capability for training some of their smaller models. So they're just beginning to do that. And then I guess sort of the news that has had them now write this is that Baidu is also experimenting with training new versions, according to 2 people cited. So this is still early. It's an important thing to understand that China is absolutely making these efforts to decouple from NVIDIA, but this is probably optional news generally right now.
And the capabilities of those chips at the H20, that's a lower capability.
Yeah, this is like they're saying they're prototyping, they're developing the capabilities. This is very forward-looking stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Optional from Adam. Ankash, since you monitor this stuff daily, what do you think?
Optional for me is Luda. So while they're developing their own chips, so according to some different analysis that I did some time back, any of the chips that these Chinese companies are developing, they are at least 3 to 5 years behind NVIDIA's chip because of all the requirements, architecture requirements that they need. And TSMC is all over it, and the company who develops those particular hardware for TSMC, they do not have the capacity to take on new clients. So I'm pretty sure while they are developing their own chips, they won't pass NVIDIA's quality of chips soon.
Right. Okay. Going optional. John?
I'm okay with optional, but I would disagree with Ankash in if you think about sovereign AI, we're starting to find it's got at least 4 layers. One is compute, data, models, and then the ecosystem of money and talent. I think the Chinese are actually going to close the gap much, much faster, 3 to 5 years before, because they might be able to get a benefit at any one of those at the compute level. So I think they're going to continue to vertically integrate into the ability to build frontier edge chips. They're not there yet, but I think they'll shrink that from 3 to 5 years down. Second, data. They have very interesting data assets, models. We've seen that they're moving the models, and they're doing a lot of algorithmic innovation in the context of whether it's quantization or decreasing the precision so that they can get faster results. Very creative there and doing some foundational work. And then the ecosystem, it's not as robust as the U.S., but my goodness, it's really quite robust. And so optional on this article, but this issue I think is going to the gap is going to shrink.
And John, it's what
I think Ashish is agreeing with you. Don't underestimate. And sorry, Adam, I really do think that with NVIDIA, there is a gate, right, that they developed a software gate on top of the chip that they're not opening wildly, right? And so Chinese have an opportunity to actually develop that integration between the hardware and the software much, much tightly, to John's point. So yeah, don't underestimate. I agree. Adam?
Oh, I was just doubling down on what John was saying. It's what Jensen Huang refers to as the exponentials of the exponentials, right? Every one of those is a scaling factor in itself, and they multiply on top of each other.
Yeah. And that's why, just to beat this horse a little bit, instead of talking about frontier labs, John, which is your model layer, we almost have like frontier stacks.
Yes.
So here's the Chinese stack, here's the NVIDIA stack, and who actually controls and which government institutions, and of that stack, how open are the floodgates? Everyone has access to it? No, 3 years from now, only these people can get access to the domestic chips and the models here. So there's a lot of new stuff coming down.
Yeah. And they have an opportunity to actually accelerate. Okay, optional it is. Let's proceed to the next one, Ankash, please.
Sure, Luda. So the next one comes from TechCrunch, and it talks about OpenAI's and Oracle's historic cloud computing deal, which made the founder of Oracle the richest person in the world.
Yeah. So Ankash, if you could please review this and summarize it for us, we would appreciate it.
Sure, Luda. So this one is a simple deal between Oracle and OpenAI, where OpenAI has agreed to purchase around $300 billion worth of compute over a span of 5 years from Oracle. So that's around $60 billion per year. But this will start, OpenAI will start purchasing it in 2027. And this is somewhere a part of the Stargate project as well. So optional for me, Luda.
Yeah. Optional from Ankash. The Oracle stock went up on the news. What did you think, Adam?
Yeah, agreed. Optional, and not much of a surprise, and not really news that they are doing business together.
Yeah. Paul, optional. You're talking.
You're on mute, Paul.
I'll start up. I'm 100% essential. One of the things we talk about essential is something that we think the AI leader needs to know. So this is, indication that you cannot survive in the Valley as a major player unless you have one of the big hyperscales on your side. And OpenAI is divorcing itself from Microsoft. Now they got Oracle there. It's $60 billion a year in cash right now. They're planning to do that. So that's one. I think the second indication, we're going to start seeing 5 years from now, OpenAI right up in there in terms of an influence on the enterprise. Third, I think Broadcom, I think this announcement itself, not only did it pop Oracle, it added billions of dollars of 5 or 6 other suppliers here. So, I think from a CIO standpoint, they look at their trusted vendor relationship for 3 or 4 years here. They've got to think a little differently about Oracle, a little differently with Microsoft, and a little differently about OpenAI. So essential, in my view.
Okay, essential from Paul. What did you think, John?
Hi, sorry, my internet wonked out for a second there. Yeah, I'm optional. I love Larry Ellison. The guy, he's like Lazarus. He, just keeps coming back. Anyway, yeah, great deal. God love Larry. Optional.
But it is, Paul is right. It's essentially alignments, major big time alignments are happening. And this is one of them. And the leaders need to know that there is a compute power behind OpenAI. So I'm with Paul. Okay.
Monica, can you put up some of the comments from the audience here? Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting if folks in the audience know if you put in chat if you want E for essential or O for optional. It'd be interesting.
But it's not news though. It's just more of the same. It's business as usual. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. It's more of what they've already been doing, Paul. It's not a new relationship between them. Right?
But it is a commitment.
Together.
But it is a big commitment. It's at the level of the signature of $300 billion for.
I say split the difference, Luda.
All right. Yeah, I agree. All right. We go important on this one. Let's proceed.
Okay, the next one comes from Stripe, and it is titled Indexing the AI Economy.
Yeah, so Stripe actually supports most of the AI big scalers and a lot of AI economy with financial transactions. And so they have a lot of data, and this is one of their reports that they do periodically. John, what did you think about this one?
Yeah, I'm giving this an essential. I think it's fantastic that these companies, it's for data geeks like me, this is fantastic. I can't believe that these guys and Ramp also do this, get permission from their customers to publish this information, but I guess they do. The messages here, I think, are critical, which is that these organizations are growing like crazy, that they have a big international footprint. If you look at the graphic over my shoulder here, it says that the median amount of international business in the top AI 100, which is what this looks at, is 75%, which is just extraordinary. It says that they are achieving, that the new AI software companies are achieving $1 million a month run rates, a full, I think it's 18 months before, or much sooner. Yes, those graphics there. Their ability to scale is faster. The only risky part of this is that some are going to transaction pricing, and transaction pricing may be more volatile than SaaS monthly subscription pricing. But other than that, it's all good news that this new wave of AI, the top AI companies, both the general models, which are about 75%, and the ones that are vertically specific, are growing like topsy. So, I have to look at this, and you look at things like the MIT study, and you just say, boy, there's not a lot of confirming evidence of what the MIT folks found, I think. Anyway, absolutely essential.
Okay, essential from John. What did you think, Adam?
A lot of great information. I just sat back and tried to imagine what the AI leader would do with it. Can you convince me, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think
like it's all good news, but I know I need to be on this AI bandwagon. I don't need more convincing.
Well, I think it tells you which vendors are strong in which areas. I think it gives you, it gives you a notion of what's happening with pricing. I think that anytime you're going for budget, this gives you data that's not simply your internal data. It's as good data.
I begin to adopt Cursor, Lovable, or Bolt into my enterprise. You understand? No, I have bigger problems than which one of these three. I don't even know where to start on. Like I'm looking at, do I use ChatGPT or Copilot? This is. Well, I just can't. I can't quite get. This is, I think, too detailed and too on the sort of smaller scale of these startups.
So there's a debate going. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just do a quick answer. Let's go back to our maturity model. So we have experimenters, we have islands of innovation, we have orchestrators that put it across the organization, and we have leveragers, people who use AI to build AI. At each of those levels, except for the leverager part, in the early part, I use this data to help make the case. If I'm starting to do islands, I am actually choosing below just simply the general models. And if I'm an orchestrator, I want to understand the trends of what's happening to the different suppliers. So I think I can see, except for somebody at NVIDIA or someplace like that, that's an intelligence leverager, I see utility to each of those AI leaders.
Okay, so we have essential from Paul, optional from Adam.
I think it's from John.
No, I was important, Luda. I definitely think it's good information. Yeah.
Okay, good information.
It's from Paul. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think, Adam, for your point, I think one important reason AI leader needs to pay attention is that story we talked yesterday about that large customer have Workday, an employee built with Lovable, build a performance app, and now that. So the little specialized apps are just only going to increase here at a much more rapid pace. The pressure right now on the Silicon Valley startups is, where's your $1 to $5 million in year one? And I had a call yesterday with a Valley startup, and they're focusing on just trucking in companies, transforming their invoices digitally. And that's a really, really narrow one, but that's the only thing they're focusing on. And they're going to make a hell of a lot of time. They've got no competitors here. So I think we're going to see an explosion of all these vertical apps that are much more AI native. And from an enterprise standpoint, I do think it has really implications on your 3-year ISV roadmap.
Yeah, and it talks about the pricing and the experimentation with the pricing models. Okay, so important it is. Let's proceed, please. Pankaj.
Okay. The next one is a case study from AWS, which talks about how old Kessel accelerated document processing with Amazon Bedrock.
Yeah, it's an interesting study, a very, in some sense, simple one, where a company, Old Castle, had to scan a lot of PDF documents that they call ship tickets to look at outstanding issues, match the invoices with what has happened. And they were having trouble with OCR, the regular optical character recognition, that was giving them the accuracy of 30 to 40%. So they turned to a regular old extract in the AWS stack, and then processed that information into with an LLM to characterize it and summarize it. So the result is pretty dramatic. Instead of processing thousands of documents per month, they're now processing the whole 200 to 300,000 documents, and the accuracy increased into 90s plus. So this is a very, in some sense, simple case. I rate it as an important because this is like a win case for many enterprises because they have a similar PDFs somewhere stacked in their arsenal of stuff, right? So yeah, important for me. What did you think about this, Adam?
In the pregame, I was important, and I saw that John put an essential, and I think I was an important because it's a good use case, and it's a use case that almost everyone can take advantage of. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that for that reason, it probably is essential. This is the classic thing that everyone is going to want to do next, whether it's on Amazon or not, which is you're going to want to use some sort of OCR to extract all of this text and information out of these unstructured data documents. And then you're going to want to pass that to an LLM to draw context and meaning from it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the dead simple, most powerful, valuable use case we can possibly apply right now to unstructured data. It's a really simple example. Amazon always does a great job of laying these out really plainly. And anyone, even whether they're in Google Cloud or Azure, could take advantage of it.
Yeah. So, John, you thought it was important.
No, he thought it was essential, and that got me thinking. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think you described it perfectly, Adam. I'm on two boards, one private and one public, and I will tell you this is a current, pressing, top of the list issue for both.
Okay. All right. Ankash. Okay. Essential.
Essential, Luda. Yes, Luda. Essential for me.
Paul. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Proceed with essential. Let's the next one, please.
Yeah, the next one is a case study from OpenAI, which talks about Safety Kit's blueprint for scaling risk agents with OpenAI's most capable models.
Yeah. Another use case from OpenAI on the security and risk mitigation, and that's really a brief article, but quite succinct. What did you think about this, Adam?
So I was optional on this. It just didn't get into enough detail for me to really feel like it was a valuable use of time. Basically, the story is that this organization, Safety Kit, uses many different agents, and they pick the right model for the right agent. So they use GPT-5 sometimes, GPT-4.1 sometimes. Sometimes they'll use the deep research or even the computer use agent, depending on how they're trying to identify or apply some sort of solution to more effectively detecting fraud. But it just didn't go deep enough for me in terms of how they used it, like you'll see in an Amazon study, or you could actually build something yourself that could do something like this. So I felt it was an option.
I see. I was actually important. Ankash, what did you think about this?
So Luda, I'm with Adam on this one, optional for me as well. As Adam said, it doesn't go into very much detail on how they did it. They just explain that they use GPT-5 for this, 4.1 for this, and all of that stuff, but no details which we can use in our use cases. So optional for me.
Okay. John.
Optional.
Okay. Nobody wants to go important. I was thinking that AI leader is essentially has to think about all of these capabilities. They can turn to the outside third-party platform or think about it internally and build this capability internally. From that perspective, I was thinking maybe important. Paul?
I'll defer to the chalk, Luda.
Okay, but I heard many optionals here. So going optional. All right, let's proceed to the last one, please.
Yes, Luda. The last one comes from our favorite Ethan Mollick, and it is titled On Working with Wizards.
Yes, it's a reflection, again, very thought-provoking. What did you think about this, John?
Absolutely essential. Ethan, I think, has really done a good job here. And there's a couple interesting things. One is it's worthwhile to look at the thing that Notebook LM did with his work. He uploaded 140 blog posts in his book, and it came up with a fantastic set of activities. And he talks about working with wizards, which is really interesting. When he in his book, he was talking about it being AI being a co-intelligence. He said, no, it's not a co-intelligence. Now we're simply watching the wizard come back with something, and that we're more like audience and inspector than we are co-intelligence. That's a huge difference. And that's a huge difference in terms of how we think about them, how we use them, how we manage them. I mean, now when you think about an AI leader having a set of quote unquote wizards working for him or her, then that's a very different management problem than simply giving everybody a co-intelligence. So I think that this is an important paper, well articulated, and the beginning of a discussion that we're going to have to go into, and AI leaders are going to have to go into, which is really how do organizations work when we have independent silicon intelligence interacting with traditional human intelligence at the individual and group and organization level. So essential reading.
Essential reading. Yeah, and he actually fed to ChatGPT 5 his whole book and all of his posts, and it came up with a very interesting reflection that he thought was quite accurate. And
yeah, I think, Luda, he gave it to Notebook LM from Google.
Oh, Notebook LM, right.
Yeah.
So but this was, I mean, it's amazing. But he talks about the verification problem, right? Because some of that thinking is quite, we don't know what the LLM thought internally. And so it comes up with all these ideas. That's why it's magic. So we'll have to get used to when we deploy this magic, and yeah, in comparison with what we're doing now, augmentation. Okay, Adam, what did you think?
Well, I was optional or essential. And first of all, yeah, it just took a while for it to get around to the point. Even as far down as you had scrolled, it hadn't quite gotten to the point, which is really quite near the last few paragraphs when he finally says, so what do we do with our wizards? And he rattles off in the next two paragraphs the three really important, valuable things to take away from this article. And I wish he had gotten to them sooner, or hit them at the top and then came back around to them. But they're really important, powerful points. First of all, I'm a tech wizard, so I already work with magic, and I already have no problem working with these wizards as well. So I couldn't agree with him more personally. So I can support essential. But he talks at the end. He says the first really important thing is we need to understand when to summon the wizard, when to really ask the AI to just do something magical where we can't even maybe understand how it got the result, versus when do we want to work with it as a co-intelligence versus when to not use it at all, which is the point John was really making, and it's a really poignant one. Second, he says we need to become connoisseurs of output rather than process, right? Which is really becoming that curator, and also knowing and getting a sense of when these models are really going to do a good job of giving us the kind of output that we want. And then the final is knowing when you don't really need it to get you perfect results, where just sort of giving you concepts or summarizing information is really good enough, and you can lean into the power of good enough and the value that it brings. So, I mean, those 3 points are essential, and I certainly would support that. But it was, I mean, I almost didn't get to those points because he was just sort of narrating a little too much for me, as he sometimes does.
Yeah, so Kevin agrees with you, Adam, and talks about hallucination, verifying the output. So yeah, but it's just a question of how we will deploy those things, and it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, so I've got a slightly different take. It's absolutely essential. I think we can feel his surprise in it, which I think is just wonderful to watch. I think it's also a nice time capsule from where we went. One of the things that I think it's really showing, you can feel in his motion, is the ascent of the digital brain and the descent of the mammal brain. You know, so co-intelligence kind of felt like an equal. I can kind of manage this chatbot. Now this thing is pretty advanced here. I actually don't like the word wizard and audience because I think it defers agency to them, when I think he's really just talking about unexplainability here. So I have no idea how these chips work in my MacBook Pro, and it's like magic, and all these things are magic here. So I think it continues to be really important that the AI leader understands we're getting a point where somebody's got to lead these things a little bit in many tasks, not all tasks. At least a human-led task with an army of robots is really, really powerful. And that needs to be taken into it. But I'm going to be just shocked when he does this again, Luda, 2 years from now. So we can have 3 data points on this trajectory, which is just breathtaking in this age of AI.
But I don't know, Paul, about the calling it magic. It is kind of, and it is we don't know what happened inside. All this explainability is not necessarily giving us what the model went through, right? So it is finding the right word here, but it is somebody, I think it was Ashish who asked, what about the impact on explainability, on human creativity and ingenuity? It is kind of magic, and people will use it more and more. So,
but do we have explainability for chips? I guess one level we do, but we still have chips give us error, and you got to go layers and layers down of smart people to figure out why my PC crashes every now and then.
Yeah, but Paul, I think you're conflating 2 things, which is understanding of the individual using a device and how deep that understanding is. And there are, you know, in the industrial world, there are many things even the most expert people are ignorant of underneath. That to me doesn't classify as magic. That's just you're uninformed or don't have that particular expertise. I think this is a little more subtle in the sense that the mechanisms of creation, that is the reasoning model and the inference across the layers, are opaque to humans, even though you have a human input and human output. I think that's a horse of another color when you're there. And so that kind of mystery is a little different, because in many situations in the current models, as you know well, it's unknowable, right? Because of the stochastic nature of the way that these things inference. So anyway, I think it's a little different. That's why it feels a little more magical. I agree. I do not like the language. I do not like the assumption of where decision rights and agency sits.
Yeah. And John, the decision right to me is, I know we're finishing up here, is to me is really important here. So where's that line between autonomous, 100% outsourcing decision rights and not? And how do I think about it as an AI leader at the process, individual, company level, society level here? We need a much more segmentation and nuanced framework for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When you think about organization design, we've gotten very lazy in terms of thinking through decision rights. Bureaucratic decision rights are pretty, they're so typical and standard, like just moving up the hierarchy and, you know, materiality and so forth. We're going to have to rethink these things fundamentally.
Correct. And Ashish is coming out on the positive side, saying that this will force humans to be imaginative and creative. Yeah, Ashish, for many, maybe not for most, right? So there's a danger here, and AI leaders need to think about it, how to leverage those high-power tools. Okay, on this note, we have today 2 essentials, 2 importance, and 2 optionals. Right, Ankash? And Paul,
Yes, Luda.
anything quick to...
2 announcements. Monday's Learning Lab, which is 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. The End of the Human Buyer. That's the title of our showcase. This is our AI agents, how AI agents are rewriting commerce. So Rosemary and Alden and others in our community are working on that. Second is our conference is now about 2.5 weeks away. So if you're around, a lot of these topics we talked today, we're going to be talking live and going to be networking live. So just a fabulous opportunity for folks who can join the conference. And if you need a discount code, let me know. We'd like to certainly support people who watch this show.
Great. Thank you all very much. Happy Friday, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye now.